Hi there folks, and welcome to Module 3 of your nutrition course. And this is all about applying the lessons learned in Modules 1 and 2 and making them practical for your life. Alright, so as I said, what we're going to go over here is the fundamentals to any successful program. These are the things that you will need to do. Whether your goal is weight loss or weight gain, you'll need to have these fundamental processes in place in order to achieve whatever body compositional change it is that you're looking to attain. And this is whether it's weight loss or weight gain, it doesn't really matter. You need to have these fundamentals in place, and you need to consider shaping these up if you haven't done so already. You get a lot of resources during this program to help you with building these fundamental requirements, and these fundamentals are what allows you to achieve long-term sustainable body compositional change. So creating compositional change is the easy part of the problem. Maintaining that change is where it gets a bit more difficult. And the people who are successful at changing their body weight and keeping it where they want it to be, or successfully changing it multiple times, are the ones who solidify these fundamentals and keep them stable all year round. And any time that they're addressing a program, they'll make sure they're starting or beginning a new program, they'll make sure that they're addressing these fundamental issues off the bat. So sleep and water. In Module 2, we talked about circadian biology and the impact that sleep and lack thereof has on body compositional change. So there's a few non-negotiable things that we'll go over in Module 3, and one of those is a non-negotiable 6 to 8 hours of sleep every night, even at the weekends. Alright, so really what we're trying to do is keep a similar routine for the full week. So what that means is if your time that you get up is 6 a.m. through the week, then it's a good idea to try and make your wake up time at the weekend 6 a.m. Now obviously that's not feasible for everybody. Some people, like, they celebrate at the weekends, or they'll have events that they have to celebrate. You might have to consume some alcohol, or it may just be a late evening. It could be nothing to do with alcohol, and it's just a late evening. If you're at a wedding or something like that, it's going to be a late night. And trying to maintain, trying to be 100% perfect with a wake up time, it doesn't happen for anybody. So we want to keep our routine the same Monday to Sunday, but we have to recognize that sometimes it's just not going to be achievable. But that is the goal that we should be going for. We should be going for the same wake up times every day, including weekends, and trying to get that 6 to 8 hours of sleep every single night. To do that, we've got to sort the sleep environment, which we talked about in Module 2. We've got to take away screens. We've got to make sure that the bedroom is dark, not too hot, not too cold. We can try, as I said, minimizing screens. Also, you can try reading or some meditation, or doing some therapeutic treatments like getting a bath, drinking some chamomile tea. Anything to de-stress and unwind prior to bedtime is going to help with a more stable sleep. There's also some supplements you can take, like melatonin, and all these will help to create a consistent 6 to 8 hours of sleep every single night. Also, water. So when addressing any program, we want to make sure that our water intake is sufficient. So another non-negotiable should be minimum 2 liters of water per day. So this is for rest days and training days. We should never have any less than 2 liters. And you can increase on training days if you like. What you'll probably find is that when you begin drinking more water, your body will start asking you for more water. So you'll feel more thirsty. So if now at the minute you currently only drink about 1 liter of water or less and you don't feel thirsty all the time, what you'll find is if you up your water intake and your body gets used to having a sufficient load of water, it will start asking you by way of urges. So you'll start getting urges to drink more often. Water is incredibly important to any routine or any program. It helps the body function, just like sleep, function normally and optimally. If you aren't dialed in with your water intake, it's something you need to address straight away. Water can also be quite valuable for weight loss. As we said in Module 2, we can do preloading. So 10 to 20 minutes before a meal, you can preload that meal with a pint of water, 500 ml of water. And that has the passive effect of causing you to consume fewer calories, thus eliciting a weight loss response almost by magic. Water and sleep, very important. Okay, managing your stress. So we talked about the stress response and again how the stress that you experience can impact body composition. So what can we do about it? So firstly, uncontrollable stress has been shown to be much more damaging to body composition than controllable stress. I'm just looking at the spell mistake. So be careful with uncontrollable stress. That's the important one. That's the one that really affects body composition. In fact, not only does it affect body composition, it affects it in a unique way. So there's a condition called Cushing. There's a condition called Cushing syndrome, which causes, one of the effects of Cushing syndrome is that it causes a unique abdominal fat gain. And what research has shown is that people who have higher stress tend to gain more weight than those who have lower stress. But not only this, that they gain a substantial amount of abdominal weight, and this kind of weight gain resembles Cushing syndrome. And not only that, but they also have metabolic changes which resemble Cushing syndrome. So stress, not only does it cause weight gain, it causes, in particular, abdominal weight gain. All right, uncontrollable stress is far worse than controllable stresses. So what can we do about that? Well, we need to identify if you're a stress eater first and foremost. If you are, you've got to identify your stressors. All right, so you've got to identify what it is that's causing you stress. Are these stresses controllable or uncontrollable? And can you deploy any mitigation strategies? And so what that might mean is laying out a roadmap to solving these stressful events in your life. So particularly if it's when you're identifying your stressors, if they're chronic stressors, they need to be addressed ASAP. If it's stress that you've been experiencing for a long time, it needs to be addressed ASAP. And one of the ways that you're going to do that is by laying out a roadmap in order to overcome that stress. So it might be, say, for example, a financial stress that you've been dealing with for a year or two. And what you would do is you would lay out a roadmap where you could, consolidate your debts and break them down into manageable chunks, and take them like one by one. And what you would find by creating this roadmap and starting to follow it is that the stress would start to diminish. Now that is obviously with controllable stresses, and that's one of the ways that you can control it. Then we have uncontrollable stresses, which is the more dangerous one, and best possible scenario is that you avoid those uncontrollable stress events, identify them, and get them out of your life. Now, if you cannot get them out of your life, if you are stuck with these uncontrollable stresses, then you need to deploy mitigation techniques. So something like meditation. Exercise is a huge one. Exercise is what your body is looking for whenever it becomes stress. So your body is expecting to exercise to become incredibly intensely physically active. So oblige it. Go on nature walks, which will also have that therapeutic effect. Breathing on fresh air. All of these things tend to have an unwinding and a de-stressing effect. Again, some of the strategies which help with sleep will help with stress: taking a bath, getting a massage, drinking calming teas, taking up hobbies, going to social events and mixing with people. Get your stress under control. It's very, very important, and it's something that shouldn't be overlooked. Next up, exercise. So, another non-negotiable. We should be doing 3 bouts of exercise at an absolute minimum per week. Alright, 3 bouts of exercise at an absolute minimum per week. As you will know by now, we recommend doing 5, as this is the optimum. It is actually the recommended guidelines is to exercise every day, to be mildly moderately to vigorously intense exercise 7 days a week for a healthy average person. But when you're at the gym at AD Fitness, you're doing incredibly intense sessions. So 3 to 5 times per week is ideal. It's going to be great for health, and it's going to be ideal for eliciting that body composition change that we're looking for. Lift weights. All right, lifting weights is a great way to build what's called metabolically active tissue, otherwise known as muscle. And so whether your goal is to increase size, muscle mass, or to tone for you ladies, this is all, both of these things, toning and muscle mass increases, are forms of muscle building, and the ingredients which go into that are very similar. Lifting weights is an absolute essential ingredient in both toning and increasing large amounts of muscle mass. So muscle is metabolically active. This means that your body has to spend calories to sustain muscle. So if you have a naturally higher volume of muscle in your body naturally burns more calories. It's also much less sensitive to things like carbohydrates. This means that your energy levels are more stable. This means that you have a higher overall calorie burn, a metabolic rate, which means your weight also becomes more stable. And you'll feel better overall having more muscle mass in your body. You'll feel stronger, your joints will be more protected, and you will be, with more muscle on the body, you will be able to change your body shape quicker and more radically than you would be able to if you had less muscle mass in the body. You should vary your exercise regularly. So what we find is that, say, running is very good for weight loss. However, being new to running and starting running is much better for weight loss than having been a runner for years. So the weight loss response to new exercise is higher. Once your body adapts to it, the weight loss response slows. This means if we vary our exercise regularly, we keep our body guessing, keeping that body weight or that weight loss response topped up. Get an active hobby is a great way to increase your exercise. So you might be at the gym 3 or 4 or 5 days a week. You can increase that by getting an active hobby like mountain climbing or playing a sport. As you know, exercise only accounts for about 5% of our total calorie burn. We went over this in the previous module. So whilst exercise isn't a big part of our calorie burn, doing things like lifting weight or being more active more often will help to accentuate this. Lifting weights causes a passive increase in metabolic rate, which is obviously incredibly beneficial. And even though you might only burn, say, a couple hundred calories during your weight session, by increasing your muscle mass, you're increasing the NEAT component of your total daily energy intake. And we know from our last module that the NEAT component is the biggest calorie burner that we have available to us. So lifting weights is essential for any weight loss or muscle mass gain program. So fixing your food environment. Okay, so what we know from research is that if your food environment is populated with high energy density foods, we talked about energy density in the last module. So this is foods which are typically highly palatable, which means they are very tasty and we seek them out and crave them. And the reason that we seek them out and crave them is because they have a high energy density. So it's going to be things like high fat, high sugar, high salt foods. So it's going to be your crisps, your chocolates, your biscuits, all the stuff that you would have in your goodies cupboard. It's going to be fast foods. All these things are foods that your body is going to crave. And if your food environment in your home or your workplace is filled with these foods, it's not a question of if you can avoid them, it's a question of when you're going to break, because it is going to happen. You'll eventually cave. And the best way to not cave is for there to be nothing to cave to. Alright, so rid your food environment of high calorie, low nutrient foods or high energy dense foods. Fill your food environment with highly satiating foods. So this is single ingredient, low processed, typically low calorie and high nutrient foods. Alright, these are foods that fill you up when you eat them. So it's going to be high protein, high fiber foods. And we need to think about our food environment in our work, in our home, and our hobbies, where we spend our time. We should be thinking about the food environment in the places where we spend our time and how we can clean that environment up so that we are less susceptible to pangs of hunger and cravings. We should be prepping foods if we're going to work and having foods which are, as we said, low energy density but highly nutritious. So we should be prepping foods in work and taking those with us. And we should also be thinking about something called effort barriers. So setting up effort barriers. This means that we put barriers of effort around foods which we don't want to eat. So if, say for example, you've got children and taking all the goodies out of the house simply is not an option, what we can do is we can create an effort barrier around that food. So it might be something like putting the foods, check out this picture, putting the foods up on top of your cupboards. All right, so the foods that you don't want to eat, you can put them on top of the cupboards. And that means if you want to get them, you've got to climb. Now, this sounds silly, but it's actually incredibly effective. What you can also do is you can limit yourself to only have access to foods which are which you have to exert an effort to eat. So something like an orange which you have to peel, or nuts which you have to crack the shell off, you'll tend to eat fewer of those because of the effort barrier of having to peel them or having to crack them open. If you have food which needs to be heated, so if you're prepping food and it needs to be heated, the chances are you're not going to keep picking at food that should be warm, so you'll not keep picking at it when it's cold. You will heat it up and eat it when you need it, as opposed to picking and picking and picking and picking. So only having foods that need to be heated is another great effort barrier. So think about effort barriers that you can put in place in your home or in your workplace, which will help to restrict you from eating the foods that you know you should not be eating. Restrict and reward. Apologies, I exited that video by accident. I'll have it spliced together anyway by the time you're seeing this, but that is what the wee break was. So restrict and reward. So yeah, we want to keep highly rewarding foods to a minimum within our diet. Now, obviously, we want our diet to be populated with foods that we enjoy, absolutely. But incredibly rewarding foods, which are foods that are a mixture of high fat, high sugar, and high salt, are food choices that we should be restricting and only eating every so often. All right, so you might set yourself out for a treat once or twice a month, in which you're going to have a highly rewarding meal. If anybody follows someone like, say, The Rock, you'll see that the majority of the time The Rock eats incredibly healthily, and then every so often he'll have just a mammoth cheat, which is grand. If you're being overly strict, or if you're eating healthily for long periods of time, it's okay to reward yourself, but rewarding yourself constantly every single day is a recipe for disaster. And we talked about adiposity set points in the previous module, and what we know about high reward foods is they seem to not only do they drive weight gain, but they seem to raise adiposity set points, which means that you will gain weight and your body will actively fight the loss of that weight. Now, the good news is that low reward foods has the opposite effect. So low reward foods, contrary to high reward foods, lower the adiposity set point and drive weight loss. So the more low reward foods, which your diet is made up of, the more we can lower that adiposity set point. When your adiposity set point is lower, you'll find it easier to remain lean. So restrict and reward, it isn't sexy at all, and that's why you'll not find it in a diet book. So typically, what the media tends to show us is a silver bullet. So they'll want just one food group to vilify. Uh, Cut out carbs, cut out fats, problem solved. However, the reality is that what causes weight gain in terms of nutrition is a mixture of all the highly rewarding foods. And the way to stop it is by restricting those rewarding foods within our diet. So restricting reward is an important one. Having a diet which is full of highly satiating foods. So fill your diet with filling foods. Ensuring your diet has low energy density foods means that you can eat a high volume of foods whilst maintaining low calorie intake. So this concept of food density is something we talked about in the previous module. So we can have a high volume of food, which can be low calorie, and we can have a low volume or amount of food, but it can be high calorie. So if you think of something like a pound bar of dairy milk, say, which is over 600 calories, versus a chicken fillet, potatoes, broccoli, carrots, gravy, peas, a full serving of that mightn't even get you 600 calories. It might be less than that. But that dinner is going to be a lot more filling than that bar of dairy milk. Yet the calories are lower. So if you fill your diet with more satiating foods, which is foods that make you feel more full, your overall calorie intake is going to be lower than if you fill your diet with high energy density foods like chocolate, crisps, high sugar, high salt, high fats. So how do we fill our diet with highly satiating foods? Well, the highly satiating foods are protein and fiber. All right, protein and fiber. Protein and fiber, not only are they more filling, they also burn more calories. We talked about this also in Module 2. Protein and fiber burn about 30% more calories in the extraction of the calories from the food. So you'll be more full and your body will have to work harder to extract the nutrients out of the foods. So making sure that your protein is high. We've given you your optimum intake in the previous module, but we're going to give it again soon. But also, potatoes are incredibly filling. It's a great thing that as Irish, we have a cultural staple in potatoes. So we tend to eat a lot of potatoes relative to other cultures. And this is a great thing because it's more nutritious, or it's highly nutritious and it's highly satiating. So potatoes are a great filling, nutritious food, but not when we deep fry them or when we cover them in sauces. It's okay to make chips out of them, make it oven chips, as long as you're not deep frying them or throwing a lot of oil in there. So just pour oil in the spuds and cut them on the chips, put them in the oven with some spices. That's perfect. So you don't have to deny yourself chips. You can absolutely have chips. In fact, they're incredibly nutritious and filling. Potatoes actually are more nutritious than rice, which a lot of people tend to be surprised at. So potatoes, get them handy, along with high protein and high fiber, which is your vegetables. Be careful of holiday periods. So there's another wee typo. The most important time for weight gain. So most weight is gained during holidays. What a lot of people don't know is that most people's weight actually stays stable throughout the year, and then they slightly gain during celebratory periods, and then they maintain that slight gain. They get to another celebratory period, gain again, maintain, get to another celebratory period, maintain, and this is what creates a constant creep of weight gain. So most people don't just gain weight like that. It's stable, celebrate, stable, celebrate, stable, and that's how weight gain is typically how it happens within a population. Now, obviously, we can remedy that by being careful around the weekend, around the celebratory periods. So Christmas, going away on holidays, around birthdays, and all our celebratory events. So what do we do for something like, say, Christmas, which is going to take you like 2 weeks? You could be off work for 2 weeks, and you tend to do a lot of eating over that period. Well, first of all, don't stop training. Exercise regularly is going to do a lot to offset the possible weight gains that you're going to experience. If anything, increase your exercise output, which will increase your calorie output. Think about lower calorie alternatives. So there's loads of festive alternatives that you can get. There's loads of alternative recipes for Christmas meals that you can prepare. And in fact, one of the recipe packs that you get with this program is themed around Christmas, and it's full of different tasty treats that you can cook up, which are lighter, lower calorie, and more nutritious. So think about lower calorie alternatives. Try to stay away from holiday treats. There tends to be a lot of chocolate passed around in the form of selection boxes or Quality Street and Roses and all those kind of sweets. Try to stay away from those. Try not to keep them in the house. Give them away or get rid of them. And obviously the big one, keep alcohol intake to a minimum. So drink only where you have to, if you have to at all. Ideally, just stay away from it completely. By doing this, you're going to minimize any weight gain and hopefully not gain any weight at all. So be vigilant around the holiday period. It's going to be a big one for maintaining a body composition that you are happy with. Okay, so nutrition. So the two most important factors in a successful diet is adherence and portion control. So if you can get these correct, your diet will be successful. So adherence is sticking to the diet. All right, so staying with it. It's not going to be a smooth journey. It's going to be rough. It's going to be bumpy. But if you adhere, if you stick with it, you will get there eventually. Some people get there faster than others. Some people get there slower than others. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Just stick with it. Portion control then is the second component of any successful diet. And so this just means managing your intake. All right. So to maximize your diet should be enjoyable, full of foods that you like. You should also have some form of portion control in place, like calorie tracking or your portion hand guide, which you get in this program. When addressing your nutrition, focus on these components. Protein intake, keeping it between 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kg of body weight. Fiber intake, keeping it between 15 and 20 grams per 1,000 calories consumed. So if you're on 2,000 calories, your fiber intake should be somewhere between 30 and 40 grams per day. And then managing your calorie intake, work out your total daily energy expenditure and set a target which keeps you within a deficit. Or if your goal is maintenance, keeps you in your maintenance. Or if your goal is to gain weight, then you're going to have to put yourself in a surplus of calories. That, I believe, is everything, folks. Practically applying these principles will allow you to sustain, maintain, and manipulate your body composition whenever you want or need to. Hope you enjoyed the nutrition modules. Get the slides downloaded from module 3 if you like, and keep them on your phone for if you ever need to address them. You can always find this video of me going through the module at the nutrition course on the website. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope there's plenty of take-homes. And I hope that you apply these principles not only during your program here, but also going forward in the rest of your life. Many thanks, and we'll chat to you again soon.